Hi everyone, welcome to today's new video. January's over, so we're gonna be wrapping up all the books I read in January. I have my statistics, so I have my story graph right here. And so far I've read 10 books, which is, well, a good start of the year, I'd say. And we're gonna be talking about the books, my ratings, what I thought about them, etc, etc. And I can't wait, so let's see the books. So I started off the new year with Addicted to You, and I was honestly surprised because I've seen so many mixed opinions about this book. Some were really popular, some said this was like their favorite series of all time, and I also heard some people say that it's really cheesy and that it was toxic and the storyline wasn't like good or the characters were not relatable or whatever. But I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling because it felt a bit similar to Magnolia Parks, but Magnolia Parks had so many little extra things which made it like an immediate 5 stars for me, and this book kind of didn't have that, but I still really liked it. And in my opinion, the characters were not only relatable, but they were also very likable. So that was the first book I read, 4.5 stars. So we start off great. And then I went to Throttle because I'm an F1 fan and it's winter break right now and I just missed the whole F1 season. And I knew, because I saw this TikTok in 2020, I think, of Throttle by Lauren Asher, and I was like, why not? So I picked this up, I gave it 3.5 stars. I really liked, obviously, the F1 aspect because I'm just a fan of F1. But I do think this relationship was more based on lust and not as much on love. I didn't really feel the connection between the characters. But other than that, the storyline was really good and the plot was also just great. I flew through this book. I think it took me like 2 days, and that is honestly really good for me. So I do like the book, but not enough to give it any higher than 3 stars. So yeah, 3.5 stars. Then I did something that I said I wouldn't do because I was convinced I was never gonna finish the Shatter Me series because I just really didn't like it. But I was in the car for 20 hours and I picked up Shadow Me, which is the novella after Restore Me. And I gave it 2 stars because I'm not the biggest fan of novellas personally. But I also continued with Defy Me and I gave that one 4.5 stars. This is probably the only book with the first Shatter Me book that I have rated higher than 4 stars. Because I'm really not a fan of the series, I can say that honestly. I think the plot is so dragged out. I don't like the characters. I'm sorry, I know this is kind of a big thing for most people, but I really don't like the characters and I don't like the plot. I think it's cheesy, it's childish. The plot really drags because we've been in the same plot and the same plot line for 5 books now. And that's insane. This book, however, in Defy Me, we finally got some other plot lines which made it interesting, but I think the whole, because people like to simp kind of on Warner, I don't get that. I get it, like, he's cute, don't get me wrong, he's a nice character, like, not really morally grey, he's just a nice character, but there's absolutely nothing special about him, so I don't get the hype, personally. But Defy Me was really good because it had a very fast-paced plotline, which the other books did not have. And also we got more of Kenji, which is a side character, but he's hilarious. I love Kenji. So I was really glad we got that other perspective as well and the more active plot. Otherwise, I would have never picked this book up. And I would have, like, thrown away the whole series because I don't think this series is really good. I'm sorry. Then I read Bunny. I did, with the book club I'm in, we did read this book a couple of months before this. I think it was in October. but I thought the writing style was really hard to get into, and I also just didn't get it, and I had no interest in continuing the book. So I kind of DNF'd it, and I picked it back up this month because I was halfway through, and I don't DNF books, but I do put them aside temporarily and then pick them up later when I do feel like in the mood for the book. So I did. I rated 4 stars in the end. I still don't really get what I read. I know it was kind of like a cult book, but I still really don't get the point of this book. But it was better. Like, the second half got really chaotic, but it was still far more entertaining than the first half of the book. So I would say it's a 4-star for me. And then I did the tandem read, and like I said before, I have some opinions about this series. I think the first 3 books, so Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, were amazing. Those were the best books in the series, in my opinion. So I'm a bit further into the series now, and I hated Airfire. I hate that book with like my entire life. I hate it. Then Queen of Shadows wasn't bad. I liked Manon? I have no clue how to pronounce her name, but I like The Witches, and Alien's point of view was okay. It wasn't great. I don't like Alien as much anymore as I did before, because I was so convinced she was gonna be my ultimate female main character, because I loved her in the beginning, but now not as much anymore, unfortunately. So back to the books that I read last month, which are Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I really liked Empire of Storms, the second half, because it was very like action packed and the whole story was progressing really fast, which is a kind of like an issue I have with Sarah J Maas, because she writes amazing books with an amazing beginning and an amazing end, but the middle part, I think she can skip that most of the time. So I have mixed opinions, but the ending of Empire of Storms was so good. I had it spoiled for me though, so it wasn't a wow factor, but I still really liked it. So that made me give it a 4.5 stars. And Tower of Dawn was one of my absolute favorite books in this entire series. It was just the vibes, the new setting, the other characters. I adored that book, but I don't think it is a 5-star, so I also rated that one 4.5 star. So I only have to do Kingdom of Ash, which is like a 1,000-page book, and I'm mentally preparing for that still. But I finished the tandem read and I both gave them 4.5 stars, which is amazing. I continue with another Shatami novella. That is the novella after Defy Me, and I rated that one 3 stars. It was fine, it wasn't special. I was glad that novella was over, but I still read it because then I can continue to the last book and I can finally give my actual opinions about this series, because maybe the last book is like mind-blowingly good. We'll see. And then I finished A Court of Silver Flames, which is probably my favorite Agatha book. Yeah, I can say that. That is my favorite Agatha book. I really like Nesta, and I think people are gonna see that as a red flag because of how she acts, but I think she's so relatable. I love her. I love reading from her point of view. Don't get me wrong, like, she can be a horrible person, but still her story was so entertaining and so good to see her going through so much. It was just really inspiring. And I also think the romance was, well, it was so spicy. I didn't need that. I don't really like that much spice, but it was very spicy. And yeah, I don't know, I just love this book. I really, really do. So I gave it 5 stars, which is amazing. Only the first Agatha book and the novella were not 5 stars for me, but the other books, immediate 5 stars. So I love that. And now I really want to start Crescent City, because the third book came out like a few days ago. I need to start that series. I just need to. And then we have the last book I read in January, which is The Never King. And I didn't expect to love this. I didn't love it. It wasn't like, oh, this is one of my new favorite dark romances. That's not the case, but I didn't dislike it, which is funny because normally I don't read dark romance, but since reading Corrupt, I've been getting into dark romance a bit more and I kind of like it. So I gave The Never King 3.5 stars, and it's a Peter Pan retelling but a little different dark romance, and it's just really good. If you want like a quick story, I think it's a little over 200 pages, maybe 240 pages or something. Yeah, then this is definitely a good book for you. So I would definitely recommend. And that is all the books that I read in January. Let me know if you've read any of these books and let me know what your opinions were about them. And like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next video. Bye bye!